Welcome to the RAOB program's Sphere Weather Parameter Configuration Table. This feature requires use of the Analytic module. Before we look at the configuration table, we'll first see what this table can produce. To begin with, we'll look at a simple graphic summary of this data, called the Storm Category Nomogram. To see this graphic, we first need to display the severe weather screen. To do this, we'll use the Displays menu, and then select the Severe Weather option. This special screen display has its own video which discusses all of the features along the left column. But for now we'll only focus on the storm category chart as seen in the lower left corner. This chart indicates that most of the severe weather parameters that RAOB calculated lie in the strong category. In fact, the RPM value says that 67% of all parameters are in the strong category. The RPM stands for the RAOB parameter metric, which we'll again see later. So let's see the parameters that were used to create this chart. To do that, we'll go to the Listings menu and then select the Severe Weather tab. And there we see all the parameters that were used. The weight column will be discussed later. So let's now look at the weighted category totals near the bottom. We can see that 5 parameters fall into the weak category, which are plotted with this blue bar in the nomogram. For the moderate category, there are 11 parameters, and they are shown in the purple bar. And 32 parameters fall into the strong category, which are represented by the large red bar. Here again we see the RPM value at 67%, indicating the percentage of parameters falling into the strong category. And now back to the weight column. Here all parameters are equally weighted at 1. Higher weight values will be accordingly used during table calculations. So now we've seen the storm category nomogram and how it was created from the listing of severe weather parameters, where the 3 storm categories are defined. Now it's time to see how the parameter weights are defined, and more importantly, how the weak, moderate, and strong categories are defined. We do this with the severe weather parameter configuration table. Because of its importance, there are 3 ways to call it up. We'll first call it up from the Listings panel, but I first need to shrink the size of the table so we can see the Options button. And there's the Configuration button. When selected, it displays the configuration table. Here is the previously mentioned weight column, where you can alter values. For example, I'll change the Cape total weight from 1 to 5, where RAOB will weight this value 5 times more than those with a weight of 1. So now we'll accept this change with the OK button, and we can now see the number 5 by the Cape total parameter. And even though the Cape value remains the same, the weighted category total for the strong category increases from 31 to 36, and the RPM also increases from 67 to 69%. Now we'll recall the severe weather configuration table, then change the weights on some other parameters to 0 in order to shorten the listing and to better see the next demonstration. Okay, there's the severe weather listings again, and a bit shorter because we just removed some parameters with 0 weights. And now we'll recall the configuration table and move the table up just under the Cape total parameter for this demonstration. Here we can see that Cape has a value of 2827, which is listed under the strong category. This is because the limits of the configuration table's moderate threshold range from a lower limit of 1000 to an upper limit of 2500. And since 2827 is greater than the 2500 upper limit, it is listed in the strong category. Now, if we change the Cape upper limit to say 3000, like this, and then click OK, we now see that the Cape value of 2827 is now listed in the moderate category because it is within the 1000 to 3000 moderate threshold range, as again seen in the configuration table. Okay, before moving on, let's click the Restore Original Value button to get back to the default values. And now we'll look at the color options at the bottom of this configuration table. The three checkbox options are grayed out because this note says we first need to display the sounding parameters using the custom data display mode. To see what this means, let's exit this configuration table and close the severe weather listing. In here we see that we are using the classic data display mode, which does not permit color coding. We instead need to use the custom display mode. To do this, we'll move the mouse to the top of the classic listing until the custom data displays button appears. Click it, and there's our custom data display selector. Here we've already preloaded some parameters, so we'll just click the OK button, and now we're ready to color code the listing. We'll now click the Options menu and select the Severe Weather table to activate color coding. We can now see that the three checkboxes are now enabled and ready to use. So we'll check each box and notice that the colors are configurable with these options boxes. But we'll just use the default colors for now. OK, so we'll just click the OK button, and there's our color-coded data listing, where red indicates parameters which meet the strong category, and purple indicates the moderate category, and blue indicates the weak category. And notice the parameters at the top that are not color-coded. This is because they are not included in the list of configurable parameters as seen in the Severe Weather Parameter Configuration table. And just as a reminder, these color-coded parameters and all the other parameters can be seen in the Listings view. But instead of clicking on the menu bar's Listing option, we can just press the spacebar for quick access. Or since we're currently looking at the Severe Weather Sounding display view, we can move the mouse over the Storm category nomogram until a question mark appears, and just right-click. And here again we can see how the Storm category thresholds and the Storm category nomogram are related. And all three categories of weak, moderate, and strong are all controlled from the Severe Weather Parameter Configuration table by defining the moderate threshold ranges. One final note about these threshold range values. The left to right numeric sequence is important. Most parameters have increasing values from the lower to the upper threshold range, as does CAPE, where values above 2500 are listed as strong, and values below 1000 are listed as weak. But in several cases, parameters with relatively smaller values indicate greater storm potential. For example, look at the CAP strength parameter. Its moderate threshold range is from 2 to 1, where values smaller than 1 result in a strong category, and values greater than 2 result in a weak category. That completes the Severe Weather Parameter Configuration Table video. Thank you for watching.